All right, welcome back to Travis Teaches Guitar. I'm your relationship counselor for this instrument right here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about your fingers. Not how they move, but how they get a little bit sore when you're playing, right? This is normal. You're pushing down on steel strings that have tension on them, and you're pressing down on them with soft flesh, right? In the beginning, this is going to be a problem. Not a big problem, but it's a little bit of a problem because you have not built up calluses yet. I don't know if you can see my fingers here, but they have lines literally engraved in them from me playing so time. The ends of my fingertips are hard. It's because I practice a lot, play a lot, so your fingers tend to do that, and that's what you need to allow this process to happen. And it's going to take a couple weeks. Right? It's not going to happen necessarily overnight. You just need to play as long as you can play where it's comfortable, where it's not feeling like your fingers are going to bleed, right? Just play them into relatively uncomfort. When you've had enough, you'll know when you've had enough, right? When it's no longer comfortable to play, or you put the guitar down, you come back to it later, try it again, keep pushing yourself, keep going past. Throw your fingers into panic mode, and that's what will create those calluses. And after a while, after a few weeks, you'll find that it's only going to get so sore, unless for a special set of circumstances. Yeah, and after that, it's not going to be a problem. You'll be able to play for, hours and hours a day, day after day after day, and they're not going to get any more sore. You'll get used to what it is. They won't feel like they do right now when you touch a guitar, right? So when you see people playing for 3 or 4 hours, you're like, how are their fingers doing that? Because they have calluses, and you get used to it. It's part of the relationship of this instrument here that, sometimes it drives people to just give up in that first month. So I'm telling you, don't do that, right? So if you get past in your playing and you find that your fingers are more than just mildly uncomfortable, that they actually hurt, they type on a keyboard or anything like that constantly, even if you haven't been playing for a couple of days, right? There's something that's an unusual circumstance. It's not normal. Generally, what I would suggest is to avoid major soreness in your fingers. If you can see my guitar right here, if you see how the strings are not all that far off the neck, it's hard to see it. There we go. That's a little bit better. Right? You can have your guitar set up so they're close like this, and that goes a long way. Not for your fingers not getting sore. My first couple guitars, I could literally stick my fingers in between the strings and the neck, and that's not good. That makes your fingers sore. It didn't stop me in the beginning because I just wanted to play. But at my earliest opportunity, I got another guitar because I knew that was a problem, because it throws off the tuning if you go further than just right here when the strings are that far up off the neck. But I learned my first chords and things like that, in that manner on that kind of guitar, and you can too. It's not, but if that's the case, that your strings are ridiculously, they shouldn't be probably more than maybe a quarter to an eighth of an inch off of the neck. So if you find that you can even come close to putting your fingers underneath there's probably something to do with the neck here. So take your guitar to a guitar shop and then have them advise you on whether that's fixable. And usually there's a tool that you can put up underneath there that will straighten the neck out and bring the strings closer so that it won't make the playing as uncomfortable. Number 2 thing that usually that makes your fingers sore is that your strings are heavier than what you're used to, or they're just heavier than is comfortable for you, clearly. For example, these strings right here are like a medium high gauge, and they're higher, or they're larger and stronger than most of the strings on any of my other guitars. And the reason why I have them heavy is because they carry a very good tone for a long time. I don't have to change these strings every couple weeks. They last a long time because they're so heavy. Lighter gauge strings are going to have a little less tension on them. Therefore, they're a little bit looser, like electric guitar strings. Not quite as loose as electric guitar strings, but lighter gauge strings will then allow you to be able to play a little bit longer and a little bit more comfort, right? So I have a couple different guitars, and I have different gauge strings on all of them. If I'm going to perform with this one, I put my heavy strings on them. On my practice guitars, I'll have a more of a medium to light gauge strings on them, right? But if I'm wanting to push my limits of playing time, well then I'm going to play this one right here, because this is where the heavier strings. I can play this one up for 2 hours. I can definitely play my other ones for 4 to 5 hours straight and not even feel that discomfort. And then if you want to if it's just too much on your fingers, I suggest maybe try a nylon string guitar. And those strings you could play all day and your fingers don't, even without calluses, they don't really hurt your fingers because they're nylon, they're not steel. So, but you're limited to the music that you can play on a nylon string. But if that's your thing, it's my thing. I like it, but you can only play a certain type of music, generally with your fingers on there. You can't strum songs on a nylon string guitar. And so these are just basic things that you can do if you're having this finger soreness. It's normal. It will subside for the most part. Your fingers aren't going to bleed or anything like that. At least I hope not. I've never seen that. But, if your fingers are bleeding and you're practicing, I hope you're getting good practicing and getting all your worth out of your time. If you're going that far to make your fingers bleed, then you're probably going to be a great guitar player. I'd still recommend putting it down for a while and let those fingers heal, and then come back to it, right? Maybe study some music or whatever. But yeah, just keep practicing. Don't practice so much that your fingers bleed. Practice well, and practice always. Till next time.